Diddy was hit with another lawsuit that claims he admitted to taking out Tupac. This Diddy lawsuit was filed by a woman named Ashley Parham, and she said that she was SA'd after she made claims that she thought that Diddy was the one that offed Tupac. We're going to go ahead and deep dive everything in this lawsuit, and I'm just going to say now, big trigger warning for anybody that can't handle anything about SA. This is very graphic and very horrifying. This woman isn't just suing Diddy, she's also suing Diddy's head of staff, Christina Coram, and she also is suing a man named Shane Pierce, John Doe 1 through 3, Anna Jane Doe. This woman claims that back in 2018, she met the defendant Shane at a bar, and he was on a FaceTime call with Diddy trying to impress people that he knew somebody famous. And she said while Diddy was on this FaceTime call, she wasn't impressed because she thought that he took out Tupac. She claims that Diddy was visible on this FaceTime call, and he was with his sons Christian and Quincy. And after she made the statement about Tupac, Diddy told her she will pay for that statement. Month goes by, and then on March 23rd, 2018, the defendant Shane invited her over to his house. This woman claims that she went over to Shane's house and he left the door of his apartment partially opened, and he said that the door was ajar because there was an issue that it couldn't close completely. And then after a while, Diddy entered the home in a ready-to-party manner. Diddy entered this house with his bodyguard, a woman that was later identified as Christina Coram, another woman who was in her early 30s who has yet to be identified, another man who, upon information and belief, is a friend of defendant Shane and Diddy's driver, who is Doe 3, who remained outside in his vehicle during the duration of the plaintiff's assault. She said that she believes that Shane set her up to be assaulted by Diddy after she made the statements about Tupac, because upon Diddy's arrival, she immediately began to be antagonized, stating she thought she would never see him in person or pay for her statements about Tupac during the video call. She said that she was in shock. She never believed she would ever see or meet Diddy in real life, let alone in the small apartment rented by Shane. She said she was sitting on Shane's bed and Diddy began coming towards her with a knife held in the right side of his hand and threatened to give her a glass glow smile. The woman alleged this is when Christina Coram would tell Diddy it's not a good idea to give her a glass glow smile because that would mess up potential clients that they could sell her to. Christina Coram made a threat that she could ship her anywhere in the world and she would never see her family or anyone she ever knew again. She claims that Shane then began to partially undress her, and then Diddy removed the remainder of her clothing, removing the knife from her face, and then retrieved a bottle of liquid from a large fanny pack. She said that Diddy squirted this all over her body, and she was scared because she wasn't sure what this chemical was, and then she later figured out that it was some type of oil or lubricant. The woman claims that Diddy told Christina Coram to insert what looked like a syringe inside this woman, and then she did, and then she told Diddy that she was unable to use the IUD because it had prematurely been released from its packaging. She said Diddy became upset by this and took the syringe and tried inserting it himself until Christina Coram and Diddy began to argue because Christina Coram was telling him it wasn't going to work. That Diddy picked up a TV remote that was sitting next to her and violently abused her with it. She claims that Diddy told her that her life was in his hands and that he could take her if he wanted to and nobody would ever see her again. She began crying hysterically, and this is when Diddy would tell Shane to turn her over on her stomach, and then she would be essayed multiple times by multiple different men. Claimed that while this was happening, Diddy was sitting at a chair after he was done with his time doing this to her, and he began pleasuring himself while recording other people essaying her. He claimed during this whole assault that Diddy kept saying that he owned her now, and then when everything was done, she was unable to move or control her bodily functions. After this essay was over, Christina Coram came to examine her and see if she needed any IV fluids. She then alleged that Christina Coram pulled out a medicine bottle and took a pill from this medicine bottle and gave it to Diddy, and Diddy shoved it down her throat. Claims that they would all leave and go out of the room into the backyard, and she just laid in this bedroom until she was finally able to regain her bodily functions. She got up and began looking for her clothes, her purse, her cell phone, and everything, but she could find none of it, and the only thing she could find was the t-shirt on the floor that she put on when she left the room. She said when she left the bedroom, she went to the kitchen and grabbed a knife and concealed it on the left side of her before going out into the backyard where they all were. Once Diddy saw her walking into the backyard, he said, "I'm surprised you're able to walk. I gave you enough to take out a horse. Said Diddy continued to make statements like, "Why haven't we partied together before? This was so much fun." And she looked at him and told him, "I did not enjoy the party with you, and this wasn't a party that you assaulted me." Diddy looked at her and was like, "This wasn't an assault. This is consensual, and you are a S worker, and here, take the money." She said she began to get enraged, and she started yelling that this was not consensual, and she said that she was going to call the police. Diddy told her that nobody would ever believe her, but if she did tell anybody, that they would harm her family. And then one of the Jane Does that were there showed a picture of his phone that looked to be outside of this woman's sister's house, and she began to be afraid. She then claims that Diddy called his mother to convince her not to report her assault, and Diddy's mother yelled at her and said, "Do not hurt my son." And she said, "I didn't hurt your son. He actually assaulted me." And Diddy's mother seemed unfazed by this statement and then told her to take the money being offered and not report this to law enforcement. And alleged that Diddy told her, "I have got away with bigger crimes than this, like offing Tupac." This defendant Doe 1 pulled a weapon on Diddy, asking him to repeat what he just said about Tupac. She claimed because all of this fighting that a neighbor came out and asked what was going on, and the Doe 1 who had the weapon pointed it at the neighbor and instructed him to go back inside and mind his business. And said that this Doe 1 turned it right back on Diddy and pointed it back at him and then fired and hit the hill behind Shane's residence. And then she said that Diddy took off, ran after Diddy in a rage from the events that just happened, and actually got him in his stomach with a weapon. She then said after that she was able to make a quick dash for the exit, and she ended up on the street and began yelling loudly for someone to call the police. She said that defendant Doe 1 had caught up with her and said that he was an undercover cop, and she said that she's still not sure if this was true or false. The neighbor that had came out previously came out again trying to figure out what was happening, and she said that she was trying to answer him, and then all of a sudden shots were fired. She fled to a car near where neighbors were taking cover, and she lost sight of the man that said that he was an undercover cop. The neighbor told her that he already contacted police, and then shortly thereafter a sheriff from Contra Costa Sheriff Department arrived at the neighbor's home. She said that she told the sheriff what had happened, and that she's been attacked by Diddy and others, and that she didn't have her phones, purse, clothing, car keys, cell phone, or anything. She alleges that the sheriff didn't do anything and didn't even call an ambulance to help her or offer to take her where she needed to go, and then she would end up going back to Shane's residence. She then said 3 days later she went to her primary care doctor and asked for an HIV and STD test because she was scared that she might have contracted something after this assault. 2 weeks later, in April 2018, she still had pain and some things going on, and she ended up in the hospital from her injuries, and they did a kit on her, ultrasound and x-rays. She said she told the hospital what happened to her, and they called the Walnut Creek police. She said she told the Walnut police what happened, but she did leave out Diddy's name after she wasn't helped from the first sheriff department and after the threats that Diddy made to her. She does believe that while she was at the hospital, the Walnut police will have body camera footage of this incident and this questioning, and she also says that she believes that the Contra Costa Sheriff's Office should also have body cam footage of her being questioned and them not helping her. She's tried to get copies from both police stations, but neither one were successful. They kept ignoring her. So she's hoping now that she has legal counsel, she'll be able to get all of the documentation she needs. But y'all let me know what you guys think of this insane lawsuit against Diddy in the comments.